Welcome back. I am Felix. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And I'm having trouble thinking today for some reason. Next up is three people who disappeared then reappeared I can't read. Three people who disappeared then reappeared years later. 18 minutes for three people. I'm looking at they got it broken up down here. Or chapter marks, whatever those things called. I don't know if I've ever done that much research on any story I've tried to cover. All right, let's get started.
According to statistics provided by NamUs, around 600,000 people are declared missing in the USA every year. Although this is a daunting number, it's important to note that over 80% of missing adults and around 90% of missing children are found within 48 hours. It's much rarer for those individuals to stay away from home for years or even decades, but it does happen all the same. Join us for today's episode as we examine three cases of people who disappeared, then reappeared years later.
You got an opening.
Jacqueline Rains Crackman and Melvin Uphoff. 18-year-old Jackie Rains Crackman was last seen by her family when she was at her parents' home in Columbus, Ohio on September 24th, 1965. That day, she left her two children in the care of her parents because she was going to attend a wedding in Glenwood, Iowa with her roommate. But Jackie never returned to collect her children. Before long, her parents discovered that Jackie's roommate had returned from Iowa, but when they spoke with her, she revealed that she had dropped her friend off somewhere, but would not say where. When authorities finally began looking into the disappearance years later, they uncovered that the only couple who had gotten married in Glenwood that weekend did not know Jackie or her roommate, and, after speaking with the roommate, determined that the 18-year-old had likely left of her own volition. At the time of her disappearance, Jackie was going through a divorce. She had gotten married at 16 and given birth to her first child shortly afterwards, but the couple separated earlier in 1965 before her husband filed for divorce in September. Her sister told authorities,
I wonder how old the husband was. Was she a child bride? Is that what's going on?
Jackie had packed 2 suitcases for the trip, which she found odd since it was meant to be a weekend stay, no longer than a few days. Reportedly, her car was later found outside of her home, but her suitcases were gone. Meanwhile, 31-year-old Melvin Uphoff vanished from Rising City, Nebraska, after spending the day with his wife and 4 children and having dinner with his parents. He told his wife, as she got the children ready for bed on the night of October 24th, 1965, exactly 1 month after Jackie disappeared, that he was going out to get beer. However, he never came home again. Back in 1965, rumors within their local communities said that the pair had left together after having an affair. Melvin disappeared with his...
This is a weird picture. What is this from? This is so weird.
coin collection and his car, a 1954 Oldsmobile. His vehicle was never recovered, and he was ultimately declared dead in the 1970s. For years, the families of both Jackie and Melvin were left in the dark, with no answers as to what had happened to their loved ones. According to the Charlie Project, Jackie was not reported missing until the 1990s, although her sister noted that the police in 1965 were not interested in the case, stating, "I really don't think there was an investigation. If there was, it didn't amount to much." A documentary, released in 2008, showed that nobody had interviewed Jackie's roommate or estranged husband following her disappearance. Jackie's sister later added that a woman resembling her missing sibling attended their mother's funeral and once showed up at her workplace, but left both scenes before she could be questioned. For decades, nobody knew what had happened to the pair, but finally, in May of 2009, the truth came to light when authorities tracked the two down and spoke with them on the phone. Melvin and Jackie had left their families behind to start a new life together. Nebraska State Patrol spokeswoman Deb Collins noted that the pair committed no crimes and left of their own free will. She declined to state where they were now living, as the pair had asked for their privacy. It's unclear at this time if they reached out to the 6 children they left behind. After 44 years, their cases were finally solved.
That's messed up. Because part of me wanted, she was 18, he was 30-something. Did they go off and have more kids? Oh my God, that's the worst too. If they went off and had more kids, I'd be so pissed if I was their kids. Pissed beyond pissed.
Tanya Catch McCrum. Born October 14th, 1981, Tanya Cratch McCrum made national headlines when she suddenly disappeared in the mid-1990s. A student at Cornell Middle School in McKeesport, Pennsylvania, 14-year-old Tanya was befriended and groomed by the school's security guard, Thomas Hose, a man 24 years her senior. It all began when Hose caught Tanya skipping class, but promised not to turn her in. Grateful for his understanding, Tanya took a shine to the older man. Over the next few months, Hose began pulling Tanya out of class to talk and started plying her with gifts, ranging from sweets and flowers to money for cigarettes. Tanya would later reflect that she was particularly vulnerable in 1996. Her home life was turbulent as she was suffering through her parents' ugly divorce, and she had started skipping class because she was mercilessly bullied. When she told Hose of her troubles, he began convincing her that she should leave home and move in with him. After he kissed her in the stairwell, she began to believe that she was in love with the 38-year-old.
I'm not laughing at her. I'm laughing at the situation. Why is it always men that look like this? Seriously. When's the last time you see someone who looked like, say, Brad Pitt or Leonardo DiCaprio or George Clooney or Idris Elba? You know what I mean? When's the last time you see like a devastatingly handsome guy seduce an underage person? You know, it's always someone who looks like this. I don't get it. You know, it's I know it's a power thing, it's power dynamic and all that, but it's like, I understand you may not be able to get women you want, but I don't. I'm so lost for words. It's never a good-looking person. Well, I can't say never because there are women who do this stuff, and some of those women, I'm like, it's like they're stuck in high school or something. For me, it seems like the women are just stuck in high school and they don't know that they're not in high school anymore, and they still go after the popular sports boy or something. But still, I mean, just this mugshot alone, he just looks creepy.
Tanya turned up at Hose's house in McKeesport, just a few miles from home.
And how old is this picture? Because I keep showing this picture. This picture, she looks way older than that other picture. So is this the same person, or they got pictures mixed up? Because she looks way older in this picture.
Her own home on February 10th, 1996, relieved to have a fresh start. But the situation became an immediate nightmare. Hose lived with his parents and adult son and went to great...
He lived with his parents and adult son. Oh, God. This is a horrible situation.
Prevent Tanya from being discovered, confining her to his bedroom and forcing her to use a bucket as a toilet. Tanya was not allowed to leave the house, not even to attend school. She was locked inside Hose's room every day and subjected to regular sexual abuse. She was sustained on leftover scraps from Hose's meals and forced to record her abuse in written journals so that he could brag to co-workers and friends. Tanya later stated, "He had me keep a calendar book of our sex acts so I knew the dates." Later speaking with The Independent, Tanya explained that fear kept her inside. "He'd threatened to kill me in my sleep," she told the paper. He threatened to throw me in a garbage bag and throw me in the river. She was 18 when she realized that she was considered a missing person after she saw her name and photograph in the local newspaper. Around this same time, she was finally allowed out of Hose's room. He gave her a new name, Nikki Allen, and introduced her to his family as his girlfriend, who was going to be moving in. Soon, Tanya was even allowed to leave the house, with Tanya noting he
That explains the picture. It's when she was older.
trusted me to go out because he knew I was brainwashed. She would visit the church or the neighborhood deli the most, but she still had a strict curfew and had to clock watch while she was away from the house. Her first time back out in the real world had been daunting, she remembered, stating, "He had given me those specific instructions."
So she was, I think he said 14? So at least 4 years he kept her prisoner?
And everything, and I was following the instructions, doing what I had to do, but I was like a deer in the headlights out there. Being out with the rest of society made Tanya realize that her relationship with Hose was not normal. Unbeknownst to him, she soon took up a job working a few hours a day at her local deli, JJ's Deli Mart, which was run by Joe Sparrico. She developed friendships with Joe and her co-workers, and soon realized, "I saw how a family should be, and I said, that's what I want." In 2006, 10 years after she had gone missing and the nightmare had started, Tanya told Joe about what had happened to her. She told him, "If you go to a website for missing children, you will see a picture of me." Joe subsequently contacted his son, a retired policeman who knew of Tanya's case. Before long, investigators had turned up at Hose's house and arrested him. In 2007, Thomas Hose pled guilty to a myriad of charges, including statutory sexual assault, corruption of a minor, and aggravated indecent assault, to name a few, and was subsequently sentenced to 15 years behind bars. At his hearing, Tanya read a victim impact statement and told him that she was no longer his puppet. She added, "You took away my innocence, my childhood. You made me think my family didn't want me or love me, that no one cared or loved me but you. For 10 years, you controlled me." Hose was released from prison in 2022 and is a registered sex offender. Tanya, for her part, has stated that she is very happy in life. In 2017, she co-wrote the book, Memoir of a Milk Carton Kid, The Tanya Catch Story. In 2018, she married and became a stepmother, and though she initially had a good relationship with her father after the kidnapping, she has since revealed that he believes she is partly to blame for what happened to her, which led to them becoming estranged. She is very close with her mother, however, who did everything she could to help Tanya rebuild her life after coming home. She has also since run into Joe, whom she credits with saving her from an awful situation, and the two caught up on everything that had happened in the years since.
First off, the father's an a-hole. Father, you're a piece of crap. She was a kid when this happened. Any parent that thinks that, here's the thing though. Let's say she didn't run away and something else happened that clearly wasn't her fault. I think her father would still do that. That's the kind of person he sounds like he is.
Tanya is very outspoken about the dangers of grooming and often talks about what young people can do to spot the signs of a predator. She noted, "We're in a different era, but that stuff hasn't changed on how they groom you and how they lure you in, and mentally have that hold over you." Paul Frunczak. Paul Joseph Frunczak was born on April 26, 1964 at Michael Reese Hospital in Chicago, Illinois, to Chester and Dora Frunczak. However, the joy his parents felt at his birth was soon snuffed out when Paul vanished from the hospital. According to Dora, a nurse entered the room and told her that the doctor wanted to examine the baby. Dora handed her son over and he was never returned. By all accounts, the woman who'd taken Paul was dressed as a nurse, but not a member of staff. She subsequently fled the hospital and was never seen again.
Well, why are they showing this? Did they look up nurse and this popped up? This is probably a COVID nurse. This is not a nurse. Could have come up with a much better picture or video than this.
The following
Yes, I'm criticizing the YouTube video.
search for Paul Frunczak was the largest manhunt that the city of Chicago had ever seen and involved 175,000 postal workers, 200 police officers, and the FBI. 600 homes were searched in less than 24 hours, but no sign of the missing baby ever emerged. The story made headlines up and down the country, and the Fronczaks made desperate pleas for their baby's safe return, with Dora stating, "We just want our baby back, and hope she will please take care of him." For 2 years, Chester and Dora Fronczak mourned the loss of their new baby as investigators chased down every tip they came across. Sadly, at the time, the police had very little to go on, telling the parents that blood type and ear shape were about the only leads they had. At the time, the shape of an infant's ear was thought to be as individual as a fingerprint. Authorities looked into the background of around 10,000 babies, but none were identified as Paul. Then, in 1966, the FBI reached out to the Fronczaks about an abandoned baby who had been recently placed in foster care. The boy, who had been given the name Scott McKinley, had been found abandoned in July of 1965 in the middle of a busy shopping center in Newark, New Jersey. The child was located inside a pram and had a black eye. The FBI expected the parents to immediately come forward to claim him, but nobody ever did, and he was thus placed into foster care. Authorities suspected that he may be the missing Paul Fronczak because he was the only boy they could not fully rule out from the investigation. After they were contacted, Dora and Chester travelled to New Jersey to collect the toddler, whom they believed was their son. Much later, Paul stated that his mother could, quote, either say, "I'm not sure," and put this child back in the system, or say, "Yes, that's my son," and even if he was not, save this child from what could be a horrible life. He added, "She did what she thought was right, and I'm glad she did." For years, the family lived together in harmony, but Paul's suspicions began to be piqued when he was 10 years old and discovered newspaper clippings about the kidnapping inside of a crawl space where he had been searching for Christmas presents. When he confronted his parents about it, they told him that he had indeed been kidnapped as a baby, but, quote, "We found you, we love you, and that's all you need to know." Later reflecting on this, Paul stated that afterwards he began to wonder about his real identity, but he never discussed it with his parents.
Yeah, I would be curious about that too if I found that stuff. I'd be like, am I really yours? And I think that's where this story's headed.
As he aged, he learned more about what had happened to him as a baby, stating, "My dad had to leave work, go to the hospital, and tell his wife that the baby was missing. You think you're safe, you're in a hospital, and that's where your baby is kidnapped." In 2012, Paul finally gave in to his desire to learn the truth. He took a DNA test and asked his parents to do the same. To his surprise, they agreed. He recalled, "For years I had wanted to do a DNA test with my parents, not because I wasn't happy, I just wanted to know the truth. I had always found a reason not to do it. I didn't want to hurt them, but there came a point when I needed to know." The three met to take the test, but Dora and Chester later called Paul and asked him not to submit it. He did so anyway, and was told there was no remote possibility that he was his parents' biological child. Paul still remembers the phone call that day, when he learned that everything he knew about himself was wrong. He stated, "I just felt like my life as I knew it was ended. I felt the colour drain from my face."
I can understand what he'd do, because there's probably some telltale things here and there that he just knew.
I couldn't think. I got all sweaty. Everything I thought I knew about myself, my birthday, my medical history, being Polish, being Catholic, even being a Taurus, went out of the window, and for a second, I didn't know who I was. So who were his parents, and what happened to the real Paul Fronczak? These questions seemed more difficult to answer now that Paul knew the truth about his family. The following year, a group of genealogist volunteers called the DNA Detectives took up Paul's case. In June of 2015, they announced that he was Jack Rosenthal of Atlantic City, New Jersey, born in 1963, vanished in 1965, and missing for over 40 years. Not only that, but his twin sister, Jill Rosenthal, was also missing. Upon speaking with his biological relatives, Paul discovered that all of a sudden, family members just stopped seeing Jack and Jill Rosenthal around. Their parents, Gilbert and Marie, were always offering up excuses as to where the twins...
They abandoned them. They got rid of them.
and why they weren't available to see visitors. Furthermore, the twins had been badly abused and neglected during their childhood, with one relative claiming to have seen the children sitting in a cage. By all accounts, their father dealt with PTSD and anger issues, while their mother was an alcoholic. Another witness, a babysitter for the Rosenthals who cared for their other children, was once told to leave the twins alone upstairs. When the babysitter went to check on them anyway, she found them in an empty room containing only 2 cribs. The room smelled of urine because the sheets had never been changed and both children were filthy. She noted that Jack had a black eye. The Rosenthals were reportedly furious when they found the babysitter with the twins. After learning about his parents' neglect, Paul stated, "My real parents were really not very nice people. I'm thankful they abandoned me because it allowed me to be with the Fronczaks. They saved my life." Paul initially believed that something tragic happened to Jill, and that, as a result, he was abandoned because they couldn't explain just one twin. However, in later years, he changed his mind and stated his belief that Jill might be alive. The National Center for Missing and Exploited Children created an image of what Jill may look like as an adult, though there are...
Some loud vehicle just went by. I don't know if they got picked up by the mic. We'll find out here when I go to watch it back.
Photos of Jill as an infant. The artist who created the portrait based the image on those of various family members. So far, she has not been located. Gilbert and Marie Rosenthal both died in the 1990s, so cannot be questioned or held accountable for what happened. Finally, in 2019, the real Paul Fronczak was located. He was identified as Kevin Ray Batty, and the announcement was made the following year, following his death on his 56th birthday.
Aww.
Before his death, he spoke with Dora Fronczak several times on the phone, but they were unable to meet before his passing. Kevin was raised by Lorraine Fountain, who'd been dating a Chicago-based doctor when she suddenly moved to Arkansas for a year before returning with the baby. However, Lorraine died in 2004, and it's unclear how she came to have the missing boy in her company. As of 2020...
She's the kidnapper. But Paul, they found Paul, but oh man, what a... Too bad. Now I'm sad he didn't get to meet his real mom. Hopefully he had a good upbringing. But yeah, that's actually sad. I wonder if the twin sister... I kind of wonder if the twin sister is dead and his first instincts were correct, to be honest with you.
4. Many questions remain in this case. It's not clear who took Paul from the hospital or what became of Jill Rosenthal, but inquiries are ongoing. Anyone with information about Jill Rosenthal's disappearance or whereabouts can contact the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children at 1-800-843-5678. And then...
That was interesting. Now see why it was 18 minutes. He had a lot of details, which I really liked. But yeah, that last one, I understand why he had to do it. If that had been me, I would have to know. Because probably growing up, he looked at his parents and looked at him and realized, I look nothing like either one of you. And, you know, it is what it is. And like I said, hopefully the real Paul had a good upbringing. I don't know if he did or didn't really say. And then as for his twin sister, I kind of think his first instincts were correct, especially if they were that violent. You know, if one goes missing, how do you explain a missing twin? Oh, what? No, there was never twins. You just can't do that. But that was interesting. That was an interesting one to watch. Don't forget to like and subscribe. I don't think I said it at the top, but at the beginning. But don't forget to like and subscribe, and see you guys later. Bye.